One important step in skincare that many people get wrong is moisturizing. And you'd think that it would be such a simple thing. You just slap on a moisturizer and call it a day. Call it a hydrated day. Alas, it's not that simple. And in today's video, I want to talk about the best way to moisturize your skin. And I mean the best way, where your skin actually ends up hydrated for an extended amount of time, like the whole day, and down the road, right? So your skin maintains its resilience, its plumpness, its smoothness, and continues to be its most healthy self. Stay tuned! Traditionally, most people moisturize by using a moisturizer, right? One product, it could be a lotion, a cream that you apply after you did maybe the rest of your skincare routine. Maybe you just wash your face and you're just applying your moisturizer to dry skin. And this is kind of not effective. And I'll tell you why. Because a moisturizer is actually a product that is meant to fulfill one function, and that function is to slow down transepidermal water loss. Transepidermal water loss simply means your skin evaporates water, and when you put a product like a moisturizer on your skin, the water doesn't evaporate as quickly. There's a barrier there, right? Keeping that moisture in your skin. So you may have found that when you apply your moisturizer to dry skin, your skin doesn't feel hydrated. And it won't, because it will feel like you have a film on your skin. I remember finding a good moisturizer was one of the most difficult things I had ever done. I think I spent, I don't know, roughly 6 months, and I mean hours a day, not just like, once in a while. Hours a day researching moisturizers and moisturizer ingredients, where pretty much any moisturizer in existence, I swear to you, any moisturizer in existence, I had read its ingredients, and I was really disappointed because a lot of them contained oils and stuff like that I knew would clog my skin. So it was very hard to find something that was truly hydrating. And so I did more research, and I found which ingredients are beneficial in a moisturizer. However, I was kind of experimenting a lot with skincare, and I found that whenever I applied a moisturizer to wet skin, my skin felt better, and then I also had to use less product. But later on, with more experimentation, I realized that if I add a humectant between the water step and the moisturizer step, that I got even more hydration. And that is when my 3-step moisture method was born. It's now a thing that people actually know, and they call it the 3-step moisture method. Everyone who follows me is aware of the 3-step moisture method because it has transformed their skin. Without adequate hydration, if you're using even beneficial actives, your skin then becomes dehydrated, drier over time. And dehydrated skin, by the way, clogs more. You don't want to dry out your skin. It's a very counterintuitive thing to want to do. And many people, of course, in the acne community, they feel as though they want to aggress their skin, and therefore they often dry it out, but then they'll experience the acne rebounding, right? Because your skin does not like to be dried out, does not like to be dehydrated. It's something we need to avoid, and that's why moisturizing in these 3 steps really helps. The 3-step moisture method is a method for all skin types, whether your skin is normal, whether it's rosacea-prone, eczema-prone, acne-prone, all the skin can benefit from the 3-step moisture method. For drier skin types, like dry, desert dry, stay tuned until the end of the video where we're going to discuss the 4-step moisture method. Yep, it's a thing for some people that I deal with that have very dry skin. So what are the 3 steps? So the first step, of course, is water, because what we want to add back to our skin is moisture. What is moisture? Water. You don't want to apply a moisturizer or hydrating serums to dry skin, because you will actually end up needing to use far more product, and you'll end up needing to spread it, like tug and pull at your skin, which can cause premature wrinkling, wearing out your elastin fibers in your skin. So you don't actually want to pull and tug at your skin ever. You want to be as gentle as possible, no matter your skin type. So the water helps kind of add the moisture back, but you can't stop. The 3-step moisture method is bam, bam, boom, quick, right? You can't allow the water to dry and then follow with the next step. So this brings me to step number 2. where we introduce a humectant. A humectant is a molecule that absorbs moisture from the environment or from the deeper levels of your skin, but what it does is it retains moisture on your skin. So if you have just primed your skin with water, the humectant can absorb all that water and keep it on your skin. If you stop just here though, and don't follow with the third step, this humectant and the moisture will just evaporate and your skin will be left dry, even drier than before. Especially in dry climates, you don't want to just end with a humectant. In a humid climate, you can experiment, but again, in a dry climate, this does not really suit anybody, it doesn't really work, and again, it will result in drier skin types. A very popular humectant out there on the market is hyaluronic acid, which usually is actually sodium hyaluronate, which is not an acid. So that's the actual ingredient that you're getting, sodium hyaluronate, but it is a humectant, and what it can do is retain up to 1,000 times its weight in water. So it's a great humectant for this step. Other humectants that you'll hear of is like glycerin or aloe, but I found that glycerin is actually better in the third step as a part of your moisturizer instead of using like a really high glycerin product, because again, that could actually backfire. So I don't recommend glycerin for the second step. Hyaluronic acid is a better option in this case. And then aloe, they call it a humectant, but aloe is actually astringent if you're using the plain plant or whatever. If it's 99% pure aloe, it's not very good for the skin. It could actually be sensitizing, especially if your skin is extremely sensitive and prone to redness. Not good. So I would not use aloe anywhere really in your skincare routine. You don't need aloe, period. I know everyone's like, but aloe. No, literally, you can do better in terms of ingredients. I'm telling you, you can do better. And I'm not gonna do like a whole explanation for this because I wanna move on to the third step. And the third step is now the emollient step. This is where you would actually use a moisturizer. So the point of this step now is to seal in the water and the humectant that retains that water, right? You wanna seal in all that and stop that water from evaporating instantly. If we skip the first and the second step, we're sealing in dryness. And so you'll find your skin will become drier and drier and rougher and even more potentially acne prone as you skip the first two steps, right? The longer you do that, the worse the skin can become. So learning these three steps is just integral in maintaining a healthy skin barrier, a plump and soft skin that is less prone to clogging, right? Because again, dehydration can lead to clogging. You don't want to dehydrate your skin. So, what is an emollient? An emollient is something like triglycerides, like caprylic triglycerides are one of my favorite ingredients to look for in a moisturizer. Usually it would be one of the first, like within 5, usually first ingredients. So that's a really good emollient. It's my favorite one personally. Other people will talk about oils as emollients, and I find pure oils, like if it's sunflower seed oil, if it's, I don't know, list any oil, jojoba oil, argan oil, I find those to be clogging for everybody, but especially if you're prone to something like malassezia folliculitis, known as fungal acne, then you're going to feed the yeast, malassezia, on your skin, and that's going to grow, and that's not pleasant. It looks a lot like acne, but can even get far more severe looking. It can also itch, so you don't want to use oils on your skin. It's not really that beneficial. Triglycerides are made from oils, but it's not the oil itself, it's the triglyceride, a combination of esters, etc. The point is that with triglycerides, you get the emollient action, right? You get that function fulfilled, but you're not slathering an oil on your skin. And so if you are just using an oil for the third step, it's not going to work that well, and you're going to clog your skin. I mean, even in low amounts, like 2-3 drops of oil daily, like say in your morning and evening routine, that can cause clogging. So be careful with moisturizers containing oils, because if you're somebody with really resilient skin that isn't prone to clogging, you might find that you won't clog yet, but there's many people out there that develop adult acne in their 30s and 40s, and it doesn't happen overnight. Damage takes time, so I would avoid damaging things in your skincare routine, especially in your moisturizer. But the key with the third step, because you've applied step 1 and 2, is you only need a pea-sized amount of the moisturizer. So you don't need to glob it on. In some formulations, that's like a little pump. Sometimes it's a half a pump, sometimes it's a full pump, but it's usually about a pea size. If your skin is a little more dry, a little more needing of hydration, you can play around with the proportions of all of these things. The water would be kind of damp but not dripping wet. I find when it's dripping wet, it's not the ideal and that can feel tight throughout the day. With a humectant step, you need like 2-3 drops, 4 drops if you have a very large face. I'm just saying that it really depends on you. And you would just cover your entire face, avoiding kind of like your direct eyes and like lips. You don't have to put it there. And then quickly you would follow with a pea-sized amount, or as I like to say, even a finger pad, right? Just the finger pad of moisturizer quickly to your whole face, sealing in the previous 2 steps, and then you allow that to dry. And when you allow it to dry, your skin might feel a little goopy because you just applied all this moisture to it, right? For a moment, and as it dries down, it will feel normal. It should feel normal. It shouldn't feel like it's covered by an oily film, right? And it shouldn't feel dry and like a desert either. It should feel exactly somewhere in the middle, really balanced, just like normal skin. And for some people, that's like a weird feeling because they're so used to using oily or heavy creams that they're like, oh my god, this feels like nothing. Yep, that's kind of how it feels. It feels almost like nothing, but your skin feels extremely comfortable. And then after you allow that to dry, you would follow with sunscreen, a generous layer of sunscreen. And don't confuse a moisturizer for a sunscreen or a sunscreen for a moisturizer. I believe that those 2 categories of products are completely separate. You still need a broad spectrum sunscreen to go after your moisturizer, and I would not use a moisturizer with SPF in it as the 3rd step here, because then you will dilute the protection. You won't use enough of the sunscreen and you will use too much of the moisturizer. So I like to separate those functions. Even if a sunscreen claims to be a moisturizer, I will still put a moisturizer underneath that sunscreen because I find that sunscreen is just not hydrating enough anyway, and I need that 3rd step even with oily skin. This 3rd step is really important. All the steps are important, even for oily skin, right? Many people think that oily skin doesn't need to be hydrated. It does. It appreciates hydration. If you cleanse your skin, you're gonna need to hydrate your skin. It's just that simple, non-negotiable. Some people have dry skin, desert dry skin. So for those people, they're often lacking sebum, right? They're not producing enough sebum. So that can feel really uncomfortable. And for those people, I recommend not 3 steps, but 4 steps in their moisture method. So you would apply the first 3 steps using the ingredients that I mentioned. And finally, you would use something more occlusive, like we mentioned Emollient as the 3rd step. So if you want a little more hydration, especially when your skin is prone to being really, really desert dry, then I would follow with an occlusive. And occlusives, they really slow down transepidermal water loss far more, right, than an emollient would. Common examples of occlusives are petrolatum and dimethicone. These ingredients have terrible reputations in the acne communities, natural skincare communities, except that they're both totally fine. Petrolatum has a large molecule size, it won't clog your pores, and dimethicone is actually really beneficial in wound healing and has its own list of benefits, but also slows down transepidermal water loss quite well. So if you need that extra support in the form of an occlusive, look for moisturizers that contain petrolatum or dimethicone. And even, you only hear me say this in this exact context, not any other context, right? Since I'm all oil-free, oil-free, oil-free. Well, if your skin is bone dry, you might want to consider something like squalane in your 4th step or even in your 3rd step. Squalane is an oil that is kind of similar to our natural squalene in our sebum, but it's hydrogenated, which means that it doesn't go off as quickly as squalene would. So if you're not producing enough of your own sebum, having squalane in your moisturizer as a part of the ingredients list in the back, right? When you read the ingredients list, when squalane is just one of those, all the other ingredients, that could be beneficial if your skin is desert dry. Not if you're oily, not if you're, I don't know, have rosacea or whatever. No, I'm talking about bone dry skin. Also, don't be afraid of fatty alcohols in your moisturizers. Those have an emollient function as well. So like cetyl alcohols, those work that way. So again, don't be afraid of those particular fatty alcohols, I mean, in your moisturizer. To recap, the 3 or 4-step moisture method is you moisturizing really quickly by first adding some water to your skin, again damp but not dripping, followed by a few drops of a humectant like hyaluronic acid. It's usually called hyaluronic acid like on the bottle, but within the actual ingredients list you'll find sodium hyaluronate. And then without allowing that to dry, you would follow with a pea-sized amount or a finger pad of a moisturizer of your choosing, hopefully containing some kind of triglycerides as one of the first 5 ingredients, because that I find can be extremely beneficial, and it feels really good. So if your skin's not feeling quite right, it's not feeling quite as balanced as you'd like it to, it's not feeling maybe comfortable, if it's feeling tight, flaky, dry, dehydrated, it could be feeling dry and tight but covered in oil, then I would look into your cleanser, number 1, and number 2, your moisturizing routine, because I think that your moisturizing routine needs to be a routine, meaning using these 3 steps or 4 steps if your skin is extra dry. I have seen the effects of this for my clients, and everyone who actually uses this method, everyone who follows me and uses this method, they write to me about it and let me know how much it's impacted their skin. And when I ask people like, hey, what was the biggest thing that helped your skin? What do you think, made the biggest impact in your progress? And people would always say the 3-step moisture method and sunscreen. So I think that's pretty good. If you liked this video, if you found it beneficial, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I love when you do that. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. I'm Olena, and I help you manifest clear skin without diets, pills, and other dumb shit. I hope you watch another video. I'll see you in the next one.